Now, there are some people who fall under the trans umbrella, as I call it, who not only want to express, here, let me talk about male to female specifically, because that's what I most relate to, but I guess the reverse works as well with female to male. They actually do not just want to express their feminine self and be seen and accepted and acknowledged as such. But some, and I think this is probably a minority, there's not, to my knowledge, good data on this, but some do say that they actually have an urgent and real sense of wanting to experience, if not all, um, at least, let's say, a larger part of the biological experience of being a woman and growing up, perhaps through puberty as a girl, going through that, what I'm sure is a very painful rite of passage as the body is changing. So, in other words, trans people born into a male body who not only empathize with as they understand it, but have some inner urge and need, desire to experience the cycles of life, possibly to the point of brooding and pregnancy and so on. Now, I can well understand why, especially those who are critical of trans people, might be aghast of this idea. We might think initially quite reasonably, say, how on earth can someone born into a male body who does not, at least externally and in terms of their major organs perhaps within the body, have the biology of a female? How on earth can they feel that this is actually what they want? They must be delusional, or at best, they have a glamorous or false idea, an imagination of what this experience is like. Now, to some extent, that may well be true. It may well be that there are folks out there that have an imagined experience. It's something that is created, as it were, by the mind. But I do wonder if there is something else going on here. And I wonder this because personally cannot understand why someone would necessarily, born into a male body, desire to have the biological experience of a female, with the exception perhaps of carrying a child and being a mother and giving birth and so on. There may well be something there kind of innate that would drive that kind of deep desire. But purely the monthly cycles and so on, I can't quite understand, as it were, an attraction. They may well be, because I've never experienced them. But yeah, why would we be drawn to biological experience as much as a felt experience and how we express ourselves and allow our spiritual nature, our inner person to come out and express itself through dress and fluency and so on, and perhaps some of the social appeals that might be there, social attractions that we could more readily understand if we're able to present as another gender. It doesn't seem to me that there's obviously quite the same appeal with biological processes, but I don't know. That's just where I am. So I kind of understand that position. However, I do wonder whether there is something about, if not the subconscious sex question, which until now I've tended to associate more with this archetype, this idea of a template, something within something our psyche draws upon that tells us how to be. It kind of informs us how to present sexually, something in the collective unconscious, perhaps. That there may be something similar going on with someone who feels that their biology, as it were, is wrong, that they feel they would only be fulfilled and whole and happy were they experiencing these biological processes of the sex that they were not, the alternative body, as it were, they were not born into. Maybe some that have started the process of hormone replacement treatment, Hormones are obviously going to be very powerful when they start kicking in. Maybe there's some effects there, I'm sure, probably, that can start to move, potentially, some folk in that direction. Again, I wouldn't know, not having gone down that road. But I do wonder if it's another of these, if not archetypal, it's perhaps more something in the what we might call a universal field, something that tells an individual, a body, be it human or another animal, how to be. So this quite closely relates to the ideas of the biologist Rupert Sheldrake. I will talk about his theory on so-called morphic resonance perhaps in another video. I'm a great fan of his theory and his teaching, and he's also a remarkable spiritual teacher, having spent some years in an ashram. So there's another appeal there for me. But anyway, this idea that there is something beyond our physical frame that tells us, be it our psyche, our brains, the individual cells in our body, the processes at work in our body, how to be as a species, and perhaps also in this case as male or female. I just offer that as an idle thought. I've no real data to go on here. I guess I actually don't think I know anyone who expresses, anyone in the trans community who expresses personally on a sort of level that I would talk to in some detail about this. That doubtless are folks I know who don't talk about it, but I have nothing to go on. It's just really a reflection, a thought. And I guess, once again, if the starting point is these people are delusional, it's all made up, it's all created. And as I said earlier, if it's at best an imagined experience, I don't think we should be so quick to judge. Maybe something else is at play.